the biggest assault on freedom of speech and freedom of press anywhere in the world after Stalin's Russia was in India under Indira Gandhi. The emergency she imposed on the country resulted in hundreds of journalists being jailed. People were arrested for writing against the government, and independent press was made to struggle for its existence. Emergency under Indira Gandhi saw freedom of speech being suppressed like never before. India slipped in global index for freedom of press. Censorship was the order of the day, and every piece of news that was to be published was to be scrutinized by the government before going to print. In the early hours of June 26, 1975, then President Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad declared a state of emergency in India, citing threat to the national security by internal disturbances. The then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi suspended the civil liberties, free press among other things, and the constitution was amended and altered. During the emergency, journalists, opposition leaders, and activists were thrown in jail under the draconian rule of Indira Gandhi government. With freedom of speech being suspended as fundamental right, the printing presses were raided, and for the next 2 days, the newspapers went out of circulation. Motherland was the only newspaper in the country which, in its edition published on 26 June, not only informed people about emergency but also about arrest and protest at national level against emergency. Incidentally, the electricity supply to the office of Motherland, situated at Rani Jhansi Road, Jhandewala, New Delhi, was cut, though the neighboring office of Jayung and the communist mouthpiece kept on getting power supply. As the media was under an attack in the country during the 21-month emergency period, the foreign media was on its heels to get the stories out about the situation in the country where constitutional rights were suspended. The Indian media was informed not to pay heed to the rumors. All the newspapers in the country were asked to take permission before publishing any piece by the chief press advisor, a position that was created to censor the news. During emergency, legislation was enacted to make censorship part of the ordinary law of land. Thus, the Prevention of Publication of Objectionable Matter Act was passed. The Press Council of India was abolished by an ordinance. Most of the mainstream media, newspapers, and magazines were under the wrath of emergency. Some were threatened to be thrown out of publications, and others were put in jail. The Indian Express and the Statesman were first ones to protest through their editions. As a symbol of protest, the Indian Express and the Statesman left their editorial pages blank. This move was soon followed by other publications too. According to IE, journalists from the Times of London, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times were expelled. The Guardian and the Economist correspondents flew back to the United Kingdom after receiving threats. Markedly, the voice of BBC was also withdrawn by the channel. According to the Home Ministry, in May of 1976, almost 7,000 journalists and media personnel were arrested. According to a survey conducted by the Freedom House globally, the place in the freedom of the press of India, which was third in the beginning of the 70s, was reduced to 34th in 1975-1977. The New York Times wrote in a report on December 28, 1975, that due to the harsh curb on the press in India, there is a big blow to the democratic society. RSS-inspired newspapers and magazines played a major role during emergency. This was the reason many such magazines and newspapers had to face the wrath of the government. Few of such titles are Panchjanya, Organiser, Motherland, Tarun Bharat, Vivek Vikram, Rashtradham, Yugdham. The editor of Motherland and Organiser, K.R. Malkani, was the first journalist to be arrested during emergency and remained in jail till the end of emergency. To control the flow of information, Indira Gandhi used intimidatory measures such as eviction from government houses and shutting down media houses against journalists and publishers. The Indira Gandhi-led government also implemented the Monopoly and Restrictive Trade Practices Act that limited the reach of media to the audience due to lesser prints. A coordination committee meeting held on June 29, 1976, had asked the principal information officer to prepare a list of newspapers which were to be categorized as friendly, neutral, and hostile. The grading of friendly, neutral, and hostile given to a particular newspaper was related to its views on a particular political party. Political consideration was one of the criteria for giving advertisements. Contrary to the policy enunciated the government on the floor of Parliament, political considerations were taken into account while releasing advertisements. The government during this period utilized its advertising policy as a source of financial assistance to newspapers or denial of financial assistance, etc., in complete variance with the policy which it had initiated on the floor of the Parliament. Accreditation of a number of correspondents was terminated and a bulk or these decisions was taken as a part of review. The character and antecedents of a number of journalists were re-verified by the Intelligence Bureau at the instance of the Home Minister. The government media units had two main functions during the emergency. They were at once a source of patronage and also they were used for building up the image of political party and a few of its leaders. The DAVP was used on a large scale for giving advertisements to support the various souvenirs brought out by the Congress party. Opposition parties were denied any such patronage. Not merely the Congress party was given extensive advertising support, but there was an instance when rates per page for souvenirs were increased after they had been agreed upon and souvenirs printed. A number of films were produced by the Films Division to project the image of Sanjay Gandhi not only as a youth leader but as a leader in his own right. The Publications Division was directed to boost the sales of Srimati Gandhi's books and to publish informative and interesting sketches with photographs of Srimati Gandhi in various journals and periodicals. In 1980, the Congress government had arrested editors Ajay Mitra and Guru Sharan Singh of Singhbhum Ekta and Samat respectively. Congress Chief Minister of Bihar had burned copies of the magazine Sunday because it published stories on him and his family's misdeeds. During the pre-emergency period, the editors were made to face the wrath of the Indira Gandhi government. In West Bengal, the Congress loyalists had burned 3,000 copies of Darpan, Bangladesh and Satyayugi as it was crucial to the government. In 1972, the editors of Renaissance, Jantarmukh and Frontier were told to stop publication by the Congress loyalists or face physical liquidation. Hindustan Times editor B.G. Varghese was sacked by the publication after he had written critically against Sanjay Gandhi and his pet project Maruti.